I'm delighted to welcome to the show this afternoon Sarah Auger. And Sarah has a story about being a woman, basically, and the trials and tribulations that some of us need to go through in order to try and regain our health. So welcome, Sarah.
Hi, Elaine. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. So it all started when you were a bit younger. So how many years ago did your problems start to show themselves?
I think it was in my early 20s actually, but I didn't realise at the time, and nobody knew at the time that it was a problem. I just thought that every woman has really, really heavy periods, and we just have to deal with it. So it started off early 20s, but it's only in the last 5 years that the diagnosis and the treatment has happened.
So you're going to have to tell us how old you are now, Sarah. We need to do the maths.
Yes. So I'm nearly 42. I'm 42 next month. So, we're talking 20 years of 20 years of just putting up with it, just thinking that it was normal.
So we're talking heavy periods.
Very, very, very heavy periods, to the point where it disables you and you can't go out the house for the duration, and it affects your daily life for that, that period of time that you're having your women's cycle.
So was there a name given to this condition, or was it just oh well, tough luck, you've got heavy periods?
Well, for the 15 years, it was, it's just tough luck. It's heavy periods and you have to deal with it. Until I wanted to have another baby and I was infertile. So I went along and they did a laparoscopy and said that I had very severe endometriosis. So that was the first that I'd heard that had endometriosis, and that was 5 years ago.
So you said having another baby. So prior to this, you'd already had a child then?
Yes. So my son is 13 now. And I did struggle to get pregnant with him as well. It took us about 2 years to get pregnant, but we weren't invited for any tests or, to see what the problem was at the time. But looking back now, it is probably because of the endometriosis.
Okay, so tell us about endometriosis for the benefit of the listeners. What actually is it, and what are the symptoms?
Well, for me personally, my symptoms were when I have my periods. My period used to be 7 days, but then it reduced down to 2 days, and very, very, very heavy bleeding and severe pain, not just down in the womb area, but other parts of my body as well. So, like up the left-hand side of my body, I used to suffer like period pains there. And I'd been to the doctors and they said, that's not your period. But it was like period pains up the side of my body as well. I used to have to wear obviously sanitary towels, but I would have to buy nappies as well as an extra like protection and put them down in my knickers as well, because it was so heavy. I would have to walk around the house with my hand between my legs to make sure the nappy was not going to fall out, because the bleeding was that heavy, and I couldn't actually like go out to the shops or anything, because obviously I couldn't walk around with my hand like that. Extreme fatigue. I would feel as if I needed a blood transfusion. I was very, very tired and very sick every single month. I would sleep for hours and hours. A couple of years ago, well, it was last year, I found out I had B12 deficiency as well. So I have regular B12 injections which does help, but I still feel really anemic and tired and very ill when I have my periods. compared to my friends who would have light periods, and they really just didn't understand the problems that I was facing. So my endometriosis, when they did the laparoscopy to have a look, so you've got the inside line of your womb where that can grow in other parts of your body. So my endometriosis was actually on my bowel, and it stuck my bowel and my bladder together. So it was on my bladder and it was on my bowel, and it was actually up on my left ureter as well, which goes from the kidneys down to your bladder. So it has actually been growing up the left side of my body. So basically, in fact, I was having a period up the left side of my body as well. So that's why I had all of that pain. So I had that removed. Sorry, go on.
So what did the doctors say when you had a diagnosis? I mean, did they apologise for all the pain you've been in all those years, and before you had the recent surgery?
No, it wasn't even brought up. I think I brought up that I've been having these pains for ages up the left side of my body. And no, when you have the operation, they don't come and discuss the past with you. They just tell you what happened and what what will happen in the future. Nobody ever apologised. I think it's expected that us women just put up with these periods, to be honest. Yeah, that's the impression that I got from the GP when I was going to the GP all those years, is, well, you're a woman, or women have periods, so just deal with it.
What would you say to other women, Sarah, who perhaps are experiencing heavy periods? What would your guidance and suggestions be?
Well, obviously you're going to go to the GP, and the GP might they've tried to give you hormones. They've tried in the past for me to try me on different pills, and the Depo-Provera injection, and the majority of those didn't suit me. They were messing around with my hormones. They made me feel low, they made me feel sick, and it just wasn't for me. And then the Depo-Provera injection as well. They tried to get me to, well, I did end up having that. And then they wanted me to try the coil. So I tried the coil and it wasn't put in properly. So then I was in even more pain. And then I finally just made a decision of, do you know what? I don't want any more of these hormones in my body. I don't want to have the pill. It's my body. It's my choice. But the GPs expect you to try these. To see if they will help your period. I always got the impression of I didn't get a choice, but now I know a bit more about endometriosis. If you're not happy about going on a pill or having the coil, you do need to put your foot down, because at the end of the day, it is your body and it is your decision. Yes, these things might help you, and they do help a lot of people. But that decision is down to you in the end. And in the end, I said, no, I am not having any more. I did ask for a hysterectomy, and they said no. I wanted to be referred to a gynecologist. And so then I was referred to a gynecologist, and then I had a laparoscopy, and that's when they found the endometriosis, and they removed it there and then. And they said, it was quite a lot of it as well. So no wonder I was in a lot of pain. But I was also told that after the operation, it can grow back. So it's not a cure of endometriosis as such. But for about 2 years, my periods were still a little bit heavy, but I didn't feel as awful as I did. I wasn't in as much pain, and it wasn't anywhere as near as heavy until the last couple of years. So my advice to women is, you put your foot down, you make that decision. if you want to try the pill, then you try the pill. But if you don't want to, if you don't want to be fed with all these hormones, you don't have to. I think it's expected of women. It's just expected of women to go and try all these pills. But it's our bodies, and we don't have to.
There's there's so much expectation that the doctor has all the answers. Oh, give me a pill and then I'll be instantly better, or just snip this off or cut that out or whatever it is, and everything will be fine. But I think the secret really is knowing your body. And you knew your body, didn't you? You knew that something was wrong, and the pains that you were having on your left side, you were absolutely spot on that something wasn't right.
Yes, definitely. I actually was admitted to hospital. It was about 6 or 7 years ago. Really bad pains up my side, and I honestly thought it was a kidney infection. And they did all these tests, and they said no, my kidneys were fine. They did scans, and it was kind of made out that, oh, she's putting this on, she's over exaggerating. So I was discharged from hospital. But then now I know why I had those pains up the side of my body, but nobody investigated or even thought endometriosis at the time. I do still think that endometriosis is still dismissed by a lot of doctors, and well, it's really common. A lot of women have got endometriosis, just deal with it. But we don't have to deal with it. There is things that can be done.
You mentioned that you asked for a referral to a gynecologist. I find it hard to incredulous really that the doctor didn't refer you, even though you had the history of the periods and so on being so heavy. Why on earth weren't you referred years ago? It just seems remarkable.
I do think, and this is just my opinion, and people might disagree with me and everything, but I think as women we are just expected to deal with this. Every woman has a period. You just deal with it. Just deal with it, and that's my opinion. I also think they don't like doing the referrals as well sometimes, because it costs them money when actually it's just a period. You can just deal with it or go on the pill. So they're quite reluctant to refer to a gynecologist. And then this year I had the same problems this year as well, asking for a referral to a gynecologist.
It just seems remarkable in this day and age, with all the medical advances at our fingertips, that GPs don't. To me, anybody with excessive periods, that should be the first thing you would get referred to a gynecologist. I mean, no one else is going to sort you out. That's their specialism. Bizarre.
Yeah.
Anyway, this must have had a real dreadful effect on relationships, friends, family, partner, whatever. So how were you affected in that regard?
Well, I'd come on my period, and by that time they were down to maybe 3 or 4 days they'd last. If I was supposed to be going out with my friends or going out with my family, and I'd say, I really can't, I've got a really bad period. And all of my friends had normal periods. They were absolutely fine. So, they think that I was maybe putting it on. Not everybody thought that at all. But it did affect me, because if I came on my periods, I wouldn't be able to go out for the night. Walking around to the shop would be terrible enough. If I went into my car, I would put a plastic bag down just in case I leaked. So I would have to cancel nights out and days out. And time with my children as well. We'd have to stay in the house, and that was still going on up until the last 4 weeks. If I think about my periods, the last few months have been absolutely horrendous, and I'd have my sanitary towels in the house, but I'd have to send my eldest son round to the shop to buy a packet of babies' nappies, because I felt like that's the only thing that would be able to catch everything that came out. So, it has affected my life and my social life and my family time as well.
So when you say about friends having kind of normal periods, was there anything normal about? I mean, could you predict? Could you were you regular? Did you know every 28 days that this was going to happen? Could you plan? How did you manage?
My periods used to be very regular. They used to be spot on every 28 days. And then things changed. Sometimes I wouldn't have a period for like 42 days, but then I would have 12 days between periods as well. So then I had what's it called? Oh, when they
D&C.
No, a smear. So, because
Okay, yes,
periods are irregular, smears, came back fine. And I just put it down to, I'm getting a bit older. So, yeah, sometimes it would be every 28 days, and then I'd go the next couple of years not knowing when my periods are going to be. They could be 12 days, it could be 42 days, it could be 28 days. So, it was hard to plan. So I would just have to make the plans, and then if it happened that I was on my period, I would just have to cancel.
You mentioned you've been like this up until about 4 weeks ago. So what happened 4 weeks ago?
Well, back in May this year, I decided after my operation 5 years ago to have my endometriosis removed, my periods in the last year have reverted back to what they were like before the operation. So they last 2 to 3 days. Very, very heavy bleeding that I need to use nappies. And I decided enough is enough. Do you know what? I'm absolutely sick of this. I just want a hysterectomy. So I went to the doctors in May, and I said, I want to have a hysterectomy because I can't handle these periods anymore. It's ruining my life. And I felt like it was ruining my life. It was stopping me in my tracks every single month. And he was quite surprised that I wanted a hysterectomy. And he said, oh, well, we could try some pills. And I was like, no, I don't want any hormones in my body, no more. I don't want to go on the pill. He said, how about the coil? And I said, no, I don't want the coil. I just want a hysterectomy. And he said, well, you're a bit too young for a hysterectomy. Which, it got my back up a bit because I'd been through infertility clinic to get pregnant with my twins. One of my twins had passed away 3 hours after he was born. My daughter was in intensive care for 9 weeks. So, I think after everything that I've been through, and I'm almost 42, I think I should be able to make that decision if I want a hysterectomy or not. But I put my foot down. And I said, no, I want a hysterectomy and I want you to refer me to a gynaecologist. So then he did refer me to a gynaecologist, and I saw them in, I think it was July, and it was a female gynaecologist, and I told her about my periods and everything. I said I would like a hysterectomy. She said, oh, you're too young to have a hysterectomy. So again, I was up against it, and she said, do you want to try the pill? And I said, no, I don't. I'm 42 and I'm old enough to decide I don't want to have the pill. I don't want to have all these hormones. She offered me the coil again, and I said, no, I don't want to. But she was trying to persuade me. And again, I had to put my foot down and say, no, I don't want any of that. I've tried them in the past and I don't want any more hormones in my body. And she said that she wouldn't allow me to have a hysterectomy. She did, though, say that there was something called a womb ablation that they could offer me. So she told me a bit more about it, and she said, it's where they burn the inside of your womb away. And I said, right, okay. So how will that help me? And she said, she gave me the statistics of how many people who have the operation, the periods don't come back again, the periods have ended. And a lot of people who do end up having periods, the periods are a lot lighter, so it will help me. So I thought, right, okay, I'll try this. So that was my operation 4 weeks ago. I had a womb ablation, and I was sterilised at the same time as well. The womb ablation itself, they did offer for me to have a general anaesthetic, or I could go into hospital and be awake while they did it. Now, there was no way that I was going to stay awake while somebody was burning the inside of my womb out, so I opted for general anaesthetic. I had the operation and I woke up in recovery, screaming and pain. And it really surprises me that they would offer this kind of procedure to somebody whilst they are awake. And the last 4 weeks has been very horrendous for me. It's been traumatic. My bladder went into shock because of the operation. I've been in so much pain, and I do wonder how they can offer this operation to somebody whilst they're awake. It seems very barbaric. So that's where I'm at now. I've had the womb ablation. After the operation, she came round to see me, and she said that my bladder was stuck to my uterus, my womb, and it would have caused too much damage to my bladder if they had tried to separate it. So then she said to me, if these symptoms persist, you will need to have a hysterectomy.
I bet you wanted to hit her, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Now she decided that I could have a hysterectomy after I've been through that operation, where if they'd have just agreed, back in July, it could have been hysterectomy that I was having 4 weeks ago. So now I've got this to look forward to. And in the future, next couple of years, I might need to have a hysterectomy anyway. So
it's annoying, isn't it? Because the NHS, the doctors, I know they're under financial pressure, but they just can't seem to foresee and plan ordinary common sense measures. If it's like a stitch in time saves nine, if they'd have given you what you'd asked for years ago, then the amount of money they would have saved, the amount of stress you would have not had to go through, it just beggars belief, doesn't it?
It really does. And I think it's all about cost cutting, to be honest. I don't feel that the needs of the patients are really being taken into consideration at all. They could have saved a lot of money in the last 6 years with me, but also also that they wanted to do is try me with the pill and the mini pill. That's just what is expected of us women, to just accept to take hormones to help our problems. But along with those hormones that we take in those pills comes a separate set of symptoms, that aren't very good either.
Yeah, we know that any medical intervention generally carries side effects, and then we end up having pills for the side effects, and then pills because those pills cause side effects, and so it goes on.
Yeah.
All the people that I interview for the show, many of them have if they're on one or two lots of medication, they end up before long escalating to 6 or 7 and then 8 and 9.
Yeah.
But good on you for putting your foot down. With
Yeah.
all this blood loss, I mean, your iron levels would have been affected as well, wouldn't they? And of course, the fatigue, kicked in, is understandable. Have they said anything about the iron levels?
No, not at all. My iron levels were never checked. They were never checked on a regular basis or anything. Every time I went to the GP, they just offered me the pill, and that was it. It was last year. I really felt ill in the July last year, and I asked for a blood test for vitamin B12. And I was told, no, you don't need that. We don't think you've got B12 deficiency. But because I put my foot down, they did the test, and it was found out that I do have B12 deficiency. But that's only because I put my foot down and went and asked them for that specific test. Otherwise, they wouldn't have tested me for that. So then I have regular B12 injections every 3 months for that now. But hadn't I asked for it, the fatigue and everything that comes with B12 deficiency, along with really heavy periods, I'd have been even worse than I was.
How did you know to ask for a B12 test?
Well, I wouldn't suggest doing this. Good old Google, when you put your symptoms in, spoken to other people as well. My mum's a nurse. And I'd spoken to other people and I put the symptoms in Google and I was like, well, actually, you know what? I've got these symptoms. And my mum said to me, well, why don't you ask for a B12 test? And so I did, which I'm glad I did. But we are told not to Google, don't look for this information and that information. And I can understand that. But also we have to educate ourselves. If people aren't going to listen to us, we need to go armed with information ourselves. So I am glad that I did Google that, because I went there armed with information and asked for the blood test.
You're a very strong lady, Sarah. I know you've been through all sorts of stuff over the years as well, and I think it's testament to your strength and resilience that you're kind of coming through this. But you've still got issues to deal with, and I know currently you're home educating your son, so you've got stress all around you, haven't you?
I have. I've been recently diagnosed in the last 10 days with something that has completely thrown me, because I've had a bad back for 4 years. And 2.5 years ago, I had an MRI and they said I had a cyst on my spine. But the GP at the time didn't refer me to anybody. So it was left until a couple of months ago, when my mobility has been decreasing. And then I had an MRI and I found out 10 days ago that I have got tumours inside the vertebrae in my spine. So, that hit me like a ton of bricks. And that did affect my mental health as well. But I always know that whenever if I ever get any bad news or something bad has happened, that those first 24 hours for me are absolutely horrendous. But I tell myself, well, in 24 hours, I'm going to feel a lot better. A lot has happened to me. A lot is happening now. But I've still got a positive outlook on things. Don't get me wrong. I could go and have a little cry on the sofa and I'm upset about things. But the majority of the time, I'm quite upbeat about it. Well, what are they throwing at me next? Because I've got to be strong. I want to be strong for me, and I want to be strong for my children as well.
With the cysts, now tumour, you've been told. What are they saying about that? What's the next step for you on that condition?
I've got an urgent appointment at Walton, which is to see a neurosurgeon. So I've got that next month, beginning of November. And I shall find out more about what they can do, if they can operate, or if they want to leave it and keep an eye on it. But at the moment, it's in the last 4 days, it's affected me that my right leg's been going weak. I've had to buy a walking stick because my leg keeps collapsing. My feet keep going numb and I keep getting pins and needles in my arms. So I am actually going to be phoning Walton up this afternoon just to let them know of the changes that have happened. And hopefully they can stop it in its tracks before something worse happens. They are benign tumours. They're not cancerous as well. It does say on the scan that they are benign. So,
well, that's some comfort, but the symptoms are worrying, aren't they? The effects that you're getting are quite worrying, because we can't argue with our spine, can we? When our spine's out of kilter, our whole body goes wonky, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And my right leg has gone wonky. So it gives way about 20 times a day the last few days. So I had to go out and buy a stick. not that I need to walk with a stick, but the stick there to support me so that I don't fall when my leg goes. So there is a decline. And if it's left, I don't want to be paralysed. I would rather it get sorted now. So Walton are a wonderful hospital, so hopefully they'll be able to sort me out.
Where is that? What part of the UK?
It's in Liverpool.
Right.
It's a very well-known hospital with lots of neurosurgeons in.
So mental health wise, I mean, you've certainly been through such a lot, Sarah. You really are inspirational to keep on going, and as you say, with a positive outlook. And that is so, so important. The people that I mentor through cancer and out the other side, those who have got the mental capacity to be strong and resilient, I find have a lot easier journey than those who are, less robust, shall we say. So I'm sure had you not been as robust and resilient as you are, you wouldn't be here today in such a positive way going forward. Stuff happens. It's how we deal with it, isn't it? That makes a difference.
It is, definitely. And I do admit that I am on antidepressants as well. I'm on a low dose, and I'm not ashamed to say that. A lot of people, there's a bit of a stigma around mental health and everything. But, it's a mixture of my resilience and antidepressants as well. I don't solely rely on them. But I try to look at the positives in life. I really do. And there's so many things that I want to do, that I want to enjoy. But I do also allow myself the time to feel low. We can feel low and we can put it to the back of our mind, and it can build up. And then it can just hit us, when we've sunk into a really big low. So if I ever am feeling, oh, this is just not fair, about my back, I will allow myself time to feel, rubbish about it. I will allow myself to have time to cry. There's no point in holding it all in, pretending everything's okay. And once I've done that, once I've let those feelings out and that anger and upset, I've let it all out, that helps me feel a lot better.
I'm glad you've raised that, Sarah, because so many people hold their emotions in. As a nation, Brits are kind of stiff upper lip, put up, shut up, get on with it, sort of thing, brush yourself down and start all over again, as the song goes. But by holding our emotions in, whether it's anger, sadness, grief, whatever it is, holding them in causes more problems than letting them out. So you're absolutely right to allow the whatever the feeling is that we experience, we must allow our body to deal with it, because if we don't, we're causing more problems and storing up more difficulties in the future. So good on you for that. And stuff happens, but it's okay to feel sorry for yourself, but don't stay there.
Yeah. When I was talking about the 24-hour thing for me before, people have different ways to cope and deal with the low moods and everything. But I learned a long time ago that, and this is just something that I do. So, for example, I found out about the tumours in my spine. I felt rock bottom. But I said to myself, I know what's happened in the past when I've had bad news. And it seems really bad at first. But I always know that 24 hours after you've let a whole day go past, it's still there, but it doesn't seem as bad and you don't feel as low. So the way I deal with things is, if I find something out, I know that those 24 hours are going to be horrendous. So I just accept that. That's my 24 hours. I own that 24 hours. And I'm all right. I'm okay to feel however I want to feel. And then I can start building myself out of that. So I kind of set myself 24 hours. It doesn't mean that I'm all right and I'm not allowed to feel low after that 24 hours. But, I can start building myself back up again.
It's interesting you say that, because I hadn't thought about it until you raised it, but that's actually exactly the same as me. The first, when you get shock news, then it's like you're numb. It's like rabbit in the headlights, thinking, oh, for goodness sake, now what, And then in the cold light of day, so allowing our emotions to go through us, and then cold light of day, when you weigh things up, there's always silver linings of things, but we can't see them at the time, and sometimes not till years later. If this hadn't have happened, such and such wouldn't have been happening right now, and so on. You can actually trace back things over the years. But the first 24 hours absolutely is really important. And I love the way you say, I own it. That's my 24 hours. I think that's cracking.
Yeah, and if that 24 hours lasts 48 hours or 72 hours, it doesn't matter. It's yours. You are allowed that time. You're allowed that time to feel rubbish and cry and, just feel really rubbish. And it's yours. Own it. Don't push it inside and pretend that everything's all right, because a couple of weeks down the line, it'll be building up and you'll feel worse. When you feel low, deal with it there and then. Give yourself that time. Allow yourself to feel low. A lot of people, mental health is being talked about a lot more now. But years ago, even just a few years ago, it's expected to just deal with it, just get over it, put a smile on your face and just deal with it. You'll be all right. But I think more people are realising now that mental health is actually, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with mental health. A lot of us suffer with mental health issues, and it's okay. It's okay to feel low.
It's natural. It's a sign of being human.
Yeah, definitely.
All of these things you've been through, Sarah, have you written about any of them?
Yes. So the book series Mumpreneur on Fire, I was in the 4th series that came out in January this year. That's Mumpreneur on Fire 4, and I talk about my the story with my twins, the pregnancy and the birth and my son's death and the grief. But I'm also collaborating with another book where I am telling my story about what happened after that, the birth trauma, and how it's actually affected me, in the last 4 years, ever since my son did die. So in that story, I talk about my mental health quite a lot as well. And allowing myself that time, how it's affected me, how I've healed and everything. And that book is called Life After Birth Trauma. So that should be coming out in the new year. And there's quite a few of us that have written our stories in there. So that'll be the second book. But I would like to write my own book as well. And I'll give my full story of back in 2003 when I was first diagnosed with depression. It's something that's been going on for years. Not that I've been depressed ever since 2003, but I'd have a few years where I was depressed, and then it was okay for a few years. And I talk about triggers and things that have happened. So I would like to write, a book about my life.
Do you keep a journal?
I don't. I really should, but I don't keep a journal at all now. I really don't.
I'm sort of my radar is out on journals at the moment, because a friend of mine has just created the most amazing one, and she has come to the conclusion that journaling pretty much saved her life from depression and a bad place. And she's actually created her name's Angie Simmons. She's on Facebook, and she's kind of set up a Facebook group called the Growth Development Foundation, and she's created this amazing journal. It's a year-long journal, and it gives things to do in the morning, well, every day. So there's a page a day, and there's things like, what are you grateful for today? So even if you're in a really bad place, there's always something that you can look at that actually is grateful. So
I'm
by
actually,
keeping the journal, that can help you, reflect when you are having low times.
yeah, I'm just having a look at it now, actually. How am I feeling?
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, it's called "How Am I Feeling Today," and it's amazing. I've seen the journal. It's a great thick thing,
Yeah.
and it starts every every day is a new day, and there's exercises in there. There's all kinds of, the way she's structured it is fantastic, and the it's available on Amazon. So how am I feeling today on Amazon? And it starts whenever you want it to start. It's not dated, so it's not January to December. You can start tomorrow with your journal. So maybe that could be a way that you could start pulling things together. And I was thinking of your son as well, possibly.
Yeah,
And with
definitely.
the home educating and showing how far he's coming, with different things and so on.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I have heard, I know a lot, I do know a lot of people that journal, and it has really helped them. But it's just something I haven't done yet. But I have talked about it in the last year about journaling, blogging, but I just haven't done it. So I really need to start doing it, really.
I'm a great believer that we do things when the time is right, and
Yeah.
everything has to be kind of lined up for us. Sometimes we might feel like we want to do stuff, but if things come in our way and we kind of don't get around to it. But suddenly, when the time is right, everything seems to be easy. When something is easy, to me, that means the time is right. And you
Yeah.
have to be in the right headspace, don't you, to do things rather than being told you must do this and you must do that.
Yeah. So, people do try to help other people with giving them advice, but then you could have 10 people giving you advice and telling you what to do. And you can't do those 10 things. You don't have to sit there and make a decision of which of those 10 you're going to do. Whichever is right for you, it will just happen.
Exactly.
You'll wake up one morning and you'll think, do you know what? Such and such had a really good idea and I think I might try that. But you know, you can't be pressured into these things. You've got to want to do it. And you've got to
Exactly.
be in the right frame of mind for it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I like about Angie's journal, because she's created it. She'd created it for herself. She didn't create it to sell it. She created it for herself,
Yeah.
and she's done a lot of personal development and listens to YouTubes and TEDx talks and this sort of thing. And she's kind of created this program for herself, and then thought, it's helped me. Maybe it will help other people, and kind of it's happened by accident. And often they're the best ways, because it's done from the heart, to help people, which is fabulous. And writing is such a cathartic thing for some people, not for everybody. Some people might go dancing, or write a song or whatever, but writing words and how you're feeling, and that's hence the title of her journal. And she couldn't find a journal that suited her. So that's how she created her own version. So hopefully that will help listeners as well. Angie's been on my show recently, so some of the
Yeah.
listeners already would remember me talking about this. So the Growth Development Foundation. So in terms of how you're coping day to day now, you recently had this surgery 4 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and what's the recovery period for this particular surgery?
They said up to a week, but it was only really last week. My friend had to take my daughter to school and pick her up. I was sleeping all through the day and then all through the night. So for me, it was a good 3, nearly 4 weeks. But because of complications as well, like my bladder went into shock, so then I ended up back in hospital. Um, I think because I've got other medical conditions as well. Everybody's. I don't think they can say that your recovery time is a week. It's different for every single person. But we shall see. We shall see if it works. But I still know that I probably will need a hysterectomy in the next couple of years. But this operation the other week, has kind of put me off having any kind of women's operations again. So I'm hoping that it'll have done the trick and things will be okay. But I'm not going to sit back. If things do become worse again, you know, I'll go there and I'll put my foot down and I'll tell them what I want. And I know that's not easy for everybody. But really, you know, it's your body, and you know, you need to speak up for your own body.
Are you still with the same GP through all of this shenanigans that's gone on?
I'm still with the same GP practice, but the GPs come and go quite a lot, so it's not the same GP.
Right. Okay. Well, been amazing speaking with you, Sarah.
Thank you.
You're on Facebook. Do you have people coming to you for guidance, or do you belong to any sort of support groups yourself where you get guidance? What's the support situation with you?
The support situation, I have lots of support from other women online who have met through Mums in Business Association, and that's mainly from my work to network. But I have formed some amazing friendships with so many ladies there who were going through the same things as well. Some of the, you know, back operations and periods. You know, it's a business networking association, but I've made so many friends who are going through what I've been through before. So, you know, we support each other, we talk about it, and that's so. I found that the support has come through people that I hadn't actually met before, and then people who I have met recently or in the last year who understand. I don't think the people surrounding me every day that I've known for years, I don't feel like I get much support there.
You mentioned sleeping all day and all night. How does that work with your children? Have you got support at home?
That's not happening now, but for a few weeks after my operation, yeah, my daughter would stay at my mum's a few nights a week. My friend, who I met through the networking as well, lives around the corner. She would come around every morning, and then she would walk Tilly to school, and then she'd come back around to check, make sure I'm all right. She stayed over a few nights. If I needed any shopping, she would do that, and she would go and pick Tilly up from school. Owen would spend some time with his nan or his dad, or he would just do his work at home whilst I was there. And then when Tilly would come home from school, you know, would get up, stay up for a few hours and do a tea and bath her and everything, then goes back to bed. But I'm feeling a lot better now. I'm not having to sleep through the day now. So I think I've almost recovered from the operation.
Fantastic. You mentioned business networking. So have you managed to be working all through this recent episode?
I have, yes. So I've got my business, a Century Fairy, and then I'm also a coordinator for Mums in Business Association in the area where I live. So I've been working as well. When I'm awake, I've been working. I need to keep my mind occupied. I love the work that I do. So I want to do it. And there's no time really. I mean, if I wanted to take some time off, I could have done, but I didn't want to. I enjoy the work that I do. So yeah, I have been working as well.
Tell us about the Sensory Fairy.
So the Sensory Fairy is my business, and I sell sensory clothing like seamless socks, seamless underwear, compression vests, seam-free tights for children with special educational needs and disabilities who might have a hypersensitivity to certain textures, worry eaters, mindfulness cards, and visual timetables as well. So they're all on my website. And I set that up 2.5 years ago because I couldn't go back to my hospital job after everything that had happened with my son dying and my daughter being ill. So I decided to set up a business with the experience that I had from my eldest son. with all of his learning difficulties and his meltdowns and his hypersensitivity, not wearing socks because he didn't like the sock seams, his anxiety. So I decided to set up the business so people can come to one place to find these products. But I'm not just a shop, online shop that sells these products. It's the sensory fairy as a whole. So I share my experiences, my stories with my followers as well on my page, and then in my private group as well. There's a group of us that talk about the difficulties that we face each day. So it's not just me that's come along and set up a shop. I talk about what's happened with me, and I ask for, other people's advice and input as well.
So you're a truly remarkable lady, Sarah. It's been a pleasure talking with you. How do people find your website? What's it called?
My website is www.thesensoryfairy.co.uk, and you can find me over on Facebook, The Sensory Fairy, and on Instagram as well.
How are you spelling sensory for the benefit of the listeners?
It's SENSORY and then fairy.
So thesensoryfairy.co.uk.
Yes.
Fantastic. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Sarah, and I wish you the very best with everything that's going on. It sounds as though you're still midway through some of the things that would have broken a weaker woman. So I take my hat off to you.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been wonderful talking to you.